Hey guys, how's it going? So welcome to the Brother Sewing Facebook and YouTube page. I have to get used to this again. It's so much fun. So today's Thursday, by the way. I'm Angela Wolf. If you've never been here before, say hi, say where you're from. I see, let's see. Hey Gertrude. I'm just checking to make sure y'all can see me before we get started. Yay, yay. It went away. Okay, thanks, Christy. So, hey, by the way, I had to laugh at some of your comments the other day. We've been doing this so much fun with these sewing projects, but yesterday was absolutely the most fun I've had in so long. So if you missed yesterday's show, it was over on my Facebook page, and we featured all of the Wolf Pack showing off their garments. And I have to tell you, the emails I got, the comments I got, you all looked fabulous. So that was a lot of fun. We're definitely going to have to plan that again. So today I got a fun show for you. Emily is here. Yay, it's back to the beach time. And she is going to show us how to make a mesh beach bag. But I thought I'd show you just a little secret thing I'm working on. You can't tell, right? So let me just go get it. Speaking of mesh, I've been embroidering mesh all day yesterday, and you know what this is going to be after it has the stabilizer on the back right now, in case you're wondering. So I'm going to finish the other sleeve. It's going to be a sleeve. So this is, you can imagine, this stuff is slippery fabric. Anyways, it's going to be kind of a bell sleeve. Isn't that going to be cute? Very fun. And I'll have a matching neckline. So that's the secret project I'm working on right now that I can't tell you about, but I just told you anyways. So this is a blue mesh. You've seen me use this on my leggings. So I'm excited to see what Emily does for a mesh beach bag, because there's always something fun. In fact, I might be embroidering mesh and making an embroidered mesh beach bag by the time I'm done watching her. So yeah, very fun, isn't it? So again, if you've never been here before, say hi. If you're from another country, be sure to use your country, because it's so fun to see we have people from all over the world, which is amazing, isn't it? And you are also live on YouTube, so we can see your comments there too. So, all right. Well, I think I see Emily down there. Why don't we bring her in? We good, Amy? Are we good, Emily? Kind of.
Hi.
How are you?
Hey, everybody. It's so good to be back. I'm excited today. I'm having a little technical difficulties with my regular camera, but I'm able to do this on a different camera. So I'm still trying to work through a couple things while Angela gets everything going. But I'm so excited, and I'll just show you what I'm going to be sewing today. So this is a finished one. And so it's a large, really heavy-duty mesh beach bag.
That's so cute.
With lots of pockets, which I love. And then inside it has even more pockets. It has an attached zipper pocket to put like your valuables or other things in, and it can't be lost. And then a little pocket here on the side, and of course all the pockets on the outside. So I saw a bag like this on Amazon, and I was kind of inspired to make one. And so we're going to do that with some blue mesh today.
Which is fantastic. Amazon has no relation to brother, but that's okay. At least we know where you found it.
Yeah, anyway.
So Ardell says that you always have the cutest earrings. I so agree.
You guys are too kind.
So everybody's popping in. They're saying hi, cute bags. So if anybody rolls in later, you might be watching this later, you can start at the beginning and watch over once she starts. And if you want to watch the bag tutorial later, be sure to share it to your Facebook page, or you can come back to YouTube and watch that. Phyllis wants to know, hi Phyllis, nice to see you. Did you cut your hair?
I've gotten a haircut since I was last on, but this is about where I keep it. So probably during quarantine, it was long. It was a few inches longer because I wasn't getting haircuts, but normally I keep it, about this length.
It's super cute. Well, you could always have Wynn cut your hair. So he cut my hair, and then I ended up going over to my cutting table and using the rotary cutter myself to even it out. That's not a good idea. I just have to say that.
I have cut my own hair before though too, because I'll come home from having it cut and I'm like, oh, this side's longer, and I just kind of hack away at it. And my husband thinks I'm crazy, but Yeah, it's not advisable.
So we have Colombia, Peru, Israel. I love all these countries and all of our wonderful friends in the USA. So you just holler when you're ready and I'll let you take over. I'm going to go keep embroidering. I was showing them this little project I'm working on right now.
Yes.
I'm making sleeves. And isn't this going to be fun? It's just so flowery. I thought this would be fun to add to a beach bag too. So I can't wait to see your tutorial.
All right. Well, I think I'm just going to get rid of, oh, wait, now it's loading. All right. Just give me 1 second. Let me see if I can access the other camera. We'll give it one second. If it doesn't work, then we will abandon ship on that one.
Here, I'll take you out for a sec. Go try it, and I'll let you know if it shows up. All right, you gotta love technical issues. You know, actually, there's been a couple times we went to go live and I couldn't get my computer on, and you all would be sitting there going, "What in the world is going on?" So I just saw a couple of you ask on this fabric here, this mesh. Now I don't know the fabric that Emily is using because hers seems to be a little stiffer, but stiffer. That's your word for the day. That is definitely not proper English. So Susan, I saw you ask if there's a grain line. There is, and you know. What I do is you have the selvage here on this edge, and I just measure. It's really hard to see, but if you look closely, you can just barely see the cross weave. So you try as close as you can to get, on grain. And if you have a hard time finding it, especially if you're using a stretch mesh, that's a little more challenging. I will measure from the edge of the fabric over. And if I leave myself little chalk marks or pins or something so I can follow that grain line. So yes, it is. Fran, what? Oh, I see Emily gets a thumbs up. Her computer's on. What stabilizer did I use? I'm using wash away mesh. So I'm using, it just feels like fabric. And you can find wash away mesh at your local brother dealer. I also have some, if you have questions on that, I have some wider stuff too. But your brother dealer will definitely have wash away mesh. And this is also what I use. Sometimes I'll use sticky back on the mesh, but this time I'm just using wash away. I was actually experimenting with a few different things. And do you like the colors I chose? I had a hard time. I wanted something bright, but it's navy. And once this all washes away, you'll just barely see a little touch of color and on your skin. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe it'll be finished by next week, right? All right, Emily, are you ready for us? Looks like she almost is. I'll bring her up in just a sec. Her camera is working. You're welcome, Susan. I saw one more. Did you put a purple flower on it? You know what, Arnell? Hold on. Let me go look at my other one. I did too. So hold on. So while I've been practicing at this, I was testing just a couple new embroidery designs and things like that. So hint, hint. This is 2 different sleeves. So I'll cut this here. But Arnell, look what I put in there just for you. A little purple. Isn't that fun? So this is what it looks like after you wash it out. And it drapes pretty nice. All right, I think Emily is just about ready, so I will bring her back up here. There's got to be purple, Arnell. And by the way, your photo yesterday that we posted, everyone thought it looked like a magazine cover. You and your daughter are absolutely gorgeous. So, all right, let's bring Emily back up. Hey.
Okay, I'm back and using the camera that I really wanted to use. So hopefully this will work out. And yeah, so I heard you guys talking about the kind of mesh, and I actually don't, it's like utility mesh. It's really thick and plasticky. So it's a little interesting on the sewing, but I'll give you some tips as we go along for sewing it. But yeah, it works really well, and I've used this one already this whole summer. I took it with us in February for a beach trip that we took before the world went crazy, and it has held up really well. So for this project, I used 3 items. I used thick strapping. Okay, so this is 1.5 inches, or this is 2 inches, and actually the one that I'm going to make today has 1.5 inches because oh boy, it didn't do anything. I didn't do anything with it.
That's so funny. You just turned into a robot. You're like an emoji right now.
It's so funny. I didn't do anything.
That's weird.
It's very weird.
We all love technology.
Oh my goodness. So apparently, I don't know. I think I'm just going to go. I'm just going back to the phone.
Go back to your phone.
Yeah. I know it's weird, but I think
We can hear you. We can hear you good. We just can't see. So, and I don't have that mesh, or you could walk me through it myself. Although I think that mesh bag is going to be cool. So when she comes back on, the mesh that she's using is not drapey like this. What she was saying is it's utility. It's like a utility mesh. It's much thicker. So just making sure. I think I'm seeing her come back on here. And take 2.
Okay. All right. Who knows what's going on? But we'll make it do. Okay. So I was talking about the supplies you need to make this bag. So I made this bag is with 2-inch strapping, and you can find it in all kinds of fun colors. I have this is like hot pink, and then I also have it in orange. And I like to keep this on hand for bag making anyway, but I did specially order the really wide stuff for these projects. And then the utility mesh, and the bag takes about a yard, but it comes in really wide, 60 wide fabric. And so you could kind of make a bag and a half. So we actually made some small shell collecting bags out of the scraps, which is essentially just like sewing on the 3 sides of 2 pieces of mesh and then put a strap on it. And the kids wear it around their neck when they're walking on the beach. And then they can put their shells in it, and the water and the sand all falls out because of the mesh. So that's really fun. That was a fun way to use up those scraps. And then the edges are finished with ripstop fabric. So it's, good for getting wet and dirty. It wipes clean. It's pretty easy to sew. And so those were the 3 things that I made. So you can find a free PDF download for this pattern on my website, Life So Savory. If you search mesh bag, it will be the top search result. I just did it this morning to find the link for that. So you can go, if you want to make this and want more details about it, you can go ahead and head over there and get all that information on lifesosavory.com. And I know that information is scrolling below if you want the link to my site. And you should check it out because I just got a brand new site redesign, and it's really, really pretty. So
congratulations. That's a big undertaking.
So I like it. Yeah, I did not do any part of it. I just had it done, but I love it. So this is the size of the printable pattern, and you can see that it's big, but it's great because I can roll up like 6 beach towels in here and, put sunscreen and sunglasses and all that stuff inside. But the one I'm going to make today is slightly smaller, and I just downsized everything to make it. So there's also a pocket here of the ripstop.
Pockets are good
for your little things. And then inside, attached by a cord sewn into the side seam, is this zipper pouch to put like your valuables. Also, my daughter wears hearing aids, and so when she's going to go in the water, we put them in here. And I know it's not waterproof, but it's definitely going to keep the sand out, and I'm not going to dump this in the water. So put that in here, and then, put my other stuff on top, and it's kind of like a little secret compartment in there as well. So that's what we're going to be making. And actually, I've already pre-started the project and have part of it put together because I was filming for It's So Easy in June, and this was one of the projects they wanted to feature. So I actually sewed part of it on filming the show, and then we're going to finish it today. And I'll probably gift it because I'll have 2 then. So you can see that the side of the bag is a little bit smaller, but it's still going to be a nice size. And so this is blue, the same utility mesh blue, and I had leftover of the orange ripstop. And then this is a little bit thinner on the orange strapping. So the first thing that I did to prepare the pieces is, after they were all cut out, is I finished the 4 main pieces with ripstop on the top. And I did a simple binding where I sewed the strip on, double folded it over, clipped it along, and then just top stitched. So that's all it is. It's really basic, super simple, but it fully encloses the top because I don't know if you can see here, but it's a little bit rough on the
Yeah,
edge where I
that
got
really,
plastic mesh.
that's a really good camera because we can see that exactly. We can even see the weave of it.
Okay, perfect. So I did finish all 4 of the tops of those, and then this top pocket gets, before you top stitch the binding on this part, you sew that top pocket into that binding stitch. So that's on the inside of part of it. And then the first side, when you're sewing your strap on, I simply, sort of measure out in thirds across the bag and then pin the strap on. And the pattern does give instructions for length of the cord, but of course you can adjust that based on personal preference, how long you want those straps to be or anything like that. And so then you're just layering the pocket piece on top of the side piece. And so there will be 3 pockets on each side once we finish the bag. So the first thing that we're going to do is pin the second side of this strap onto this bag. Or onto the side of the bag. So that's where I'm picking up this project. And I'm going to turn so you can't really see me, but you can see the bag a little bit more. And so what I like to do is use the first side as the pattern so that my straps are equal, and then I don't have to measure again the second time. So if I lay it all on top of each other and line it up, I can see that I can just lay my other strap right here. And you want to make sure on this top that as you're curving it around that you don't twist that, because that's not a great look. So, and I just go ahead and pin it in a few places down the bag, once at the top, once at the bottom, and then once sort of in the middle there where the pocket top is. And then we're just going to go ahead and stitch on both sides of this strapping. So we'll go up one side, down the other. I like to kind of reinforce at the top. I did it on this one. I just backstitched a couple times to reinforce where that handle is going to get some pull. So let's go over to the sewing machine and sew this right now.
Hey, while you're sewing that, there was a couple questions. There are a couple questions that came up.
Yeah.
One, what needle are you using with that?
So, because it's plastic, I'm actually just using a regular needle. If you feel that your machine is having trouble with it, you could definitely go ahead and put on, like a jean or a denim needle. And I have done that at times for sure, but we'll try this strap and see if we feel like it's having a hard time. Because when we sew the sides, I actually did sew the sides and then I top stitched with the seam allowance folded over, which means it was multiple layers of the mesh. So when we get to that part, we'll take a look and see how hard it's working.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Oop. Okay. So let's make some space. This is not very forgiving fabric. So when it runs into my other machines, it's kind of flopping all over the place.
Like, get out of the way.
And I just stitched, 1/8 of an inch, no more than 1/4 of an inch from the side. You really do want it tacked down fully to the side of your bag. And another thing is I like to keep this pocket out of the way to make sure that I don't accidentally stitch it in a spot where I don't want it to be caught. You could, if you wanted the sides more attached on the inside of your bag, you could stitch the sides into the strap as well. But I've kind of just left it loose hanging. So you can see I'm going to back stitch and then go forward again. So there's 3 layers of stitching along that top edge. And then we'll pivot and go down the other side. I know it's hard this summer. I don't know how many people do have access to pools or, lake beaches, but we've still had a bit of opportunity to use just, even if it's going to the park or wherever, to grab this bag and just have it easy to put everything in one place. So there is the other one, other side. And so now we'll go back and pin it to the other piece.
All right. There's a lot of people in here saying they're going to make this bag.
Yay!
In fact, somebody, who is this that just wrote this? Oh, Judy said she actually has everything to make this bag.
Yay!
Good job. You don't even have to order anything. That's even better.
That's awesome.
Arnell wants to know, what was your stitch length that you were using?
I just used the regular 2.5. What I didn't adjust it at all. So whatever was, so I think 2.5 is standard on the machine. Yep. So now when we get to the top stitching or the side, you could always take a look, but here's just, I'll show you the back side. So the stitching is a little bit hard to see. I used orange, but it just kind of stitches through, and it doesn't really catch every bit of the mesh because the holes are larger than the stitches. But because you're either using it with ripstop or the strapping, it works. Now, the next part where we're sewing mesh to mesh, I did use the triple stitch on my machine, and I'll show you that when we get over there.
That's my favorite stitch. We actually just used that this week when I was showing them how to hem pants. That's a great stitch.
Yeah. So I just thought it gives a little more opportunity for catching on, so I noticed on this other side, my pocket, it must be a little bit off. It's not lining up, but on this side, my pocket is lining up perfectly with the 2 layers. So it'll be a little off. And then now what I'm going to do is stick this little zipper pocket on its pre-made strap into the side seam. And so I think I stuck it in like this. And then, this is the inside of the bag. So if we want it on the inside, then it needs to, I just try to envision what part of the bag it should be on. So now we have the 2 side seams pinned or clipped, and we're going to sew those with the triple stitch. So I'll show you on my machine what that is going to look like.
Rachel, you're so right. Clips work with that too, to hold them together. If you want to use clips or pins. I have misplaced my clips. I got to find them, but they work great for that.
Yeah, it's so bulky, and I did use it on the strapping just because it's on the inside and you can't really clip it. But on these, when we're doing this and when we put the bottom on in a minute, the clips do work really well. And I only have this small size, but it seems to work really well for that. So I'm going to be using this triple stitch, which is just the stitch that has the 3 little lines. On mine, it's number 5. But so I'm going to use that, and I will sew a wider seam allowance than maybe I would. I'm going to go closer to a 1/2 inch on the seam allowance because I want to be able to fold it over and top stitch. And I don't do that for looks. I do that mainly for reinforcement of the bag because I'm just not sure with this mesh how structurally sound it is sewing it like this. I don't really know if that's its intended purpose, but it works great and it looks fantastic when it's finished. So
Emily, you got a couple people asking if you could actually use a serger at this point, but you would actually see the stitches then through that bag.
Yes. So that is the thing, is that you would see it. And this is virtually invisible when it's done because of you just fold the mesh over and sew it again. So I think, yes, you could use a serger, but I think you would see it more. So if you wanted to look prettier, which is usually not something I'm going for, I'm usually very utilitarian, but in this sense, I do think this is probably actually even a stronger seam, and you don't see it. So
your sewing machine is so quiet while you are sewing over all those layers.
Yeah, it goes through really well.
Don't forget, everyone, we're giving away the last Brother sewing machine at the end of today's show, too. So good luck, everyone.
Yeah, down here, there's 4 layers of mesh, and it doesn't really give me any trouble. Again, I don't know how much it's actually sewing through the mesh and how much it's just sewing through the holes in the mesh, but it works. So there's my seam,
That looks great.
Now I open it up and just fold it over to either side that you want. Okay, so on the right side of the bag, fold it over so you can see it's just a little bit thicker on the one side that I fold it to. And then I'm going to top stitch down that seam allowance over, which will also help reinforce the seam. And then we won't have the sharp edges of the mesh. Also well laid flat and not be like sticking straight out on the inside of the bag. And I pinned this side, but I probably should have left it open to make the top stitching easier on this one side.
Sandy, you said your triple stitch goes backward, forward more than yours. Does it go, so Sandy, it goes forward, backwards, forward, and then forward to the next stitch, and then backward, forward. So you'll have 3 layers of stitching.
Yep. Well, I'm going to have to repin that. And on the other side is I do have to maneuver through it, but oh boy, my bobbin thread is almost empty. Of course.
That always happens when we're live. At least you have bobbin thread. Last time I tried to embroider, I had to do that too.
I did double check that I had one already pre-wound before I did this.
Jackie says, I've never heard or seen such a quiet machine. I agree.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if my one before this was noticeably louder, but the one actually I had directly before this was this essentially the same machine, just the one with Disney designs instead of the marble designs. So I think I've been sewing on this sort of model for so long, I don't appreciate its quietness.
Yeah, it's very quiet. A lot of people are saying that too. What machine is that one? I should know it by heart by now, but I don't.
It's the LB5000, and it came with the marble embroidery design. So it's a combo sewing and embroidery machine. Okay, so there's my side seam, and you can see my pocket is a little bit off. So, but that can't be helped after I'd already gotten this far. I would have had to fix that earlier. And then here's the back with the top stitching. If you absolutely don't want to see it, just use the same color thread like I did on the orange bag, and you won't see it one bit. I'm using orange, and I'm thinking it's good enough because there's also orange on the bag. But that would be a way that it would be virtually invisible. Okay, so let's go back to now we'll sew the other side seam. So I'm going to clip this back.
There's so many good ideas here. Everybody's saying that somebody made this. Actually, they made it with a serger. She said because she uses it at the airport because then she doesn't have to take everything out of her bag. Now that's a good idea.
That is such a good idea. I love that. Yeah, I mean, I think that whether it's this mesh or a drapier mesh, I've also used some utility mesh that was much drapier, so it essentially had no structure. But obviously for this bag, I wanted a little bit of structure so it would stand and hold its shape. But like for toy storage and I've made some like Lego bags and those sorts of things using still very thick mesh, but the softer kind. Oh, I also made, oh wait, I want to put this way. Let's move this over here.
Hey, Emily, do you think that fabric's too thick to do a French seam in the side, or do you think that would work if somebody wanted to really hide it?
Oh,
That's a lot of fabric.
Fold it over.
Yeah.
You could certainly try. I'm never one to say don't try it, but I would definitely test it before you planned a whole project around that. All right, so now we'll open it up, and you can see my little strap pocket here is in the side seam. And then on the outside of the bag, there's the little tab. And if that bothers you, you can just cut it after you've top stitched. But it is a finished end of my tube. Okay, so now I'm going to top stitch this over. Oh, I've made those with softer mesh, although I think this sort of mesh would actually work too. The organizers for your car that go on the back of the front seat, and then kids have pockets on the back of for all their stuff. So I used a softer mesh, but it was still really thick. It was definitely not something you would ever wear. Oh, okay, so question answered. I just broke a needle. So now it's time to upgrade our, I guess it could only take so many punches through the thick fabric. But what
that's only because we're live. I tried to sew a pocket in a bag the other day, and my sewing machine stopped at the same part of a pocket with two different fabrics. And so I went off the live show, and I finished the bag in like 15 minutes. Now, if I'd been live, it would have worked, right? I actually have the bag back. I've been using it at the beach, but I like yours. It's a little bit bigger. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to answer some questions. So yes, it's too late to enter for the sewing machine giveaway. It closed when we started the show. But if you had entered any time over the last 2 months when it started, you're in there. And also, if you made comments today, it also registers in there. So you're in there. So don't worry. We're drawing at the end of the day. And Susan, about where she finds her mesh and everything, it's not a Brother product, but if you go to her website, which is right down below, Life So Savory, she has the whole tutorial on there too. And you could always message her.
Yeah,
for that
and
as well.
The products that I used for this are all listed in the tutorial. So you can get the free, you can get all that information there. So I didn't find the little end of the little end of the needle seems to have disappeared. So it's either in here or in my machine. So we'll see.
Oh no. Yes, Diddy, this would be great for the farmer's market. Someone else was talking about for a sewing show. Rhonda mentioned something about shopping. Definitely. Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to put all these pockets on if you don't want to. You know, if you're using it for different uses and you're just, wanting to finish the edge like I did and then, okay, no.
Kim says, great bag for the beach.
All right, I don't hear any major noises yet. So, okay, so this is where it gets tricky because the one side is sewn up and I'm trying to top stitch, through. So I'll see if I can sew through here. I will say that when I made the larger size, it was a little bit easier because it was larger. And so I had more room to work on the sides, but I'm able to make this work. It's like trying to top stitch, the sides of jeans or leggings where you're working.
Whenever I top stitch my jeans, I end up having to hammer them really good just to make sure they'll run through the machine without skip stitches.
Yeah.
So,
and it probably would not be a bad idea to hammer this actually. It's more just like I can't even see where I'm going, but we're almost done. Okay.
Hey, where are all the kids today?
I actually have extra kids here because we have some friends over, but they're eating lunch and watching a movie for the moment.
Oh.
So. Hopefully they'll be quiet. Okay, so we now have the outside of a bag, and I'll turn it right side out for a moment so you can see. Again, this is slightly smaller than the printable pattern, but it just gives you an idea how you can edit. And I just sort of downsized all the pieces to create the same bag, just slightly smaller. So here's the inside pocket. And then, it's looking really good compared to the other one. The height is actually pretty much the same. It's just the width is a little bit smaller. Okay, so now let's see when I did my math to reduce it, if I made the bottom piece the same or the right size. So the bottom piece is a rectangle. We're going to try and insert it in the bottom and then sew around with that same triple stitch. I did not end up top stitching my bottom. One, because I didn't really care if the seams were as smooth. On the side where you're reaching your hand in, I really wanted those seams to be smoother. And 2, I just thought, well, I'll just test it out and see if it's strong enough, and it was. So
that's perfect.
To avoid trying to get in there and top stitch, which is a lot more difficult on that bottom than the sides, I just avoided it, and it has worked out. But of course, do what you need to. So I'm going to use my clips, and I take the middle of one of the short sides of the rectangle, and with right sides together, which really doesn't matter on the bottom. It's just the bag that has the front sides. Whoops.
That would totally be something I would do. I love that.
And then on the other side, so matching the middle with the side seam, we have that. So now what you're going to do is I just sort of maneuver this into a rectangle shape. It's not really, and the corners aren't perfect because of the thickness of the mesh, but I thought it worked out pretty good on the original version. Goodness.
So by the way, this answers your question, Judy. She's not boxing the corners. She's sewing this whole bottom strap in.
Yep, I'm just sewing it. So I just will end up sewing it around and pivoting on the corners, and as much as possible trying to make the mesh do what I want.
Marcia says your binding always looks so nice. I totally agree, Marcia.
That is very sweet. I would say fine finishing is not one of my strong suits, so I will take the compliment.
I would disagree. I think everybody here would disagree. Your stuff's so cute. So I see quite a few of you joined later. So when we're finished here, you can go rewatch, and then you'll be able to see all the questions you're asking about fabric, needles, where to find this. We've already covered all that. So I just want to let you know. So share it to your Facebook page or come back to YouTube.
Yep. So that's how I've pinned it. It was a circle, right? The sides were essentially a circle, but any shape we wanted because it was just 2 pieces sewn together. So I have made them into a rectangle, and I will just show you. So here's the bottom of the other one. And
oh, that looks so professional.
See that it's just fine. So is there like a slight, crimp here on some of the corners where I pivoted? Yes, but you would never notice, and often, you might have a little pucker when you're doing this with mesh anyway. So I just saw there's a shell in my bag on the side. So that's what we're doing. Yep, is we're just going to sew on the inside. And again, I did not top stitch. So on the inside of this, the side seams are finished with the top stitching. So they're nice and flat. There's no rough edges, but the bottom still has that sort of seam allowance that I can grab. I just didn't want to fight with my machine to get in there and top stitch it, but you could totally go for it. I won't stop you if you want to. Okay, so let's sew this. And again, you're using a nice, healthy seam allowance just to make sure that you're really securing all the layers together.
I agree. And Patricia said if there's a pucker on each corner, it'll look planned. Patricia, great.
Yep. And I'm going to use the triple stitch again, just to reinforce as much as I can, because sewing with the mesh to mesh, I feel like there's a lot of places where it's not really even catching the fabric. So you're just kind of sewing in the holes of the mesh. So we'll go around and we'll try to pivot the best we can on the corners. I do have the needle left aligned to just try to get a bigger seam allowance without having to have my presser foot in there as far. Okay, so I'm going to try to sew all the way to the edge, or all the way to the corner, and then do a lift and rotate here. So I did lift the presser foot and try to pivot here. This is where I don't like the clips because they're bulkier on, getting in the way, but I'll try to move them out of the way.
While you're sewing, Emily, everyone is saying that your dress is so stinking cute. And Mary Smith says, do you have that same dress in yellow, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Mary, you have a good memory.
I wore it last week and I told everybody because they were like, where's the pattern? How do you make it? And I said, I bought it off one of those really cheap ads on social media that targets you for those crazy clothing companies. And I thought, it's so cheap and it's so cute. I'm going to take the gamble. And they actually fit and they're really cute. So I didn't make it.
You could have, though. You could have.
I kind of want to take one apart and make it and make another one. But I was telling people last week, it's kind of like a stretch woven. It's a really interesting fabric that I don't know that I've seen before. It's very thin and very light, but it has just a tiny bit of stretch. So,
it's really cute.
It's where I would source the fabric. The bottoms of the orange straps are being caught here in the seam, and they don't really hold any weight, but it would reinforce it. The other thing you could do is sew the whole bag, and then I've done it where you put the straps and they go all the way under the bag, so that the weight of the straps is supported on the bottom as well. But I didn't do that with this mesh one. But you could have the straps go all the way around. Okay, we're almost all the way back. And then we'll check out our corners, which is the slightly weak link in this. But my needle seems to be holding up. So I guess I would say if you wanted a needle recommendation, probably heavier is better after breaking.
Yeah, it's while you're doing that, a couple people were asking, and so I'll just answer this.
Yeah.
They said, could you use any needle in here? Does any size needle work for any sewing machine? So in general, you can use like the standard size 10, 8, 10, 12, there's even 11, 14, 16, 18. Now that's where it gets tricky. I have an older machine, we're talking old, when I first started sewing, really old. And I could not get a size 18 needle in that. So check with your machine. I don't use 18 very often, but for this project, you could easily get away with using a 14. That should be big enough, but you could use a 16 if you want something a little extra. If you're going to do that, though, you're going to want to change your stitch length to a 3.0 because 2.5 would just be a little bit too small for a needle that big. So check your manual. But in general, usually you can use just about any needle in your sewing machines. But some of the older ones, don't try the 18.
And these are just 14. So I didn't go up like really huge. I just went from probably I had a 11 in there or a 12 in there. So it just gives it a little bit heavier duty needle. Okay, let's see.
It's looking good. Yes, Carolyn, I have been on the boat all last week. I took a little fishing vacation and that bag would have been perfect.
Yes. Right, the water can just kind of, although it wouldn't be waterproof if you wanted to keep anything dry, but it won't hold the water. So you just kind of, fight with your bag, get your corners poked back out. You can see, I think they look pretty good.
They look great.
Especially for this type of bag, right? We're not going for anything that you'll be taking to a fancy restaurant or outing, but all right. So
on this, Emily. So on your bag, because this is the bag I made a couple weeks ago, which this one I like where yours has that the air can go through in sand.
Yeah.
This one is not waterproof. How long are your handles? Because I actually measured mine and I ended up shortening mine like 1 inch. This was okay because I have all my magazines in here, but how long is the strap, like from one strap to like from here to here? Just out of curiosity, because we were all debating on if we like longer, shorter. I always like to make sure I can get all my arms through, which not that my arms are that big, but if I'm wearing like I like yours shorter because that would be a little bit more comfy.
It's 22 inches on
22. All right.
So it might be slightly on the short side. This one I think is a little bit longer, but the bag is longer. So this one is 26 inches. And so you can see how it hangs a little bit lower. But the bag is just that much bigger too. So
yeah, mine's 36 inches long from one to the other. I like the shorter for those.
Yeah.
Those are so cute.
I
But
think
this is narrower and I have magazines in here, so I can get away with it. Yours shorter is very cute.
the proportions on yours with the longer bag, it works. Whereas this with it being wider.
Yeah.
So there we go. This is my
Yay. So cute.
smaller one. And it doesn't stand, well, I guess it stands a little bit. This one stands, you know, better because the bottom is wider. You have a little bit bigger base, but yeah, so it has some nice structure, all those fun pockets. These are all usable
I
pockets
love that.
for flip-flops, sunglasses, sunscreen, whatever you want to put in there. And then, yeah, your big compartment inside to load up with all your stuff. So there you go.
Nice. So somebody had a quick question. Your pockets on the inside, were both of those zippered?
Oh, so the top one here is just an open pocket, and we used that to just, you know, stick some granola bars or things that we wanted easy access to when this bag was full. And then this one is zippered because I was putting more like valuable things in there, like maybe my driver's license or my credit card or my daughter's hearing aids. And so I really wanted, but you could easily change this into a zipper pocket. That would not be, you know,
Yeah.
do a zipper one place, you can do a zipper another. So that would be an easy fix.
Everyone's saying, awesome, awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this is so much fun. What a great project to come back to the summertime weather with.
Hopefully you can still have some time or make a bag with the same concept that you can use all year round, whether it's for grocery shopping or, you know, whatever you have coming up that it would work for. So yeah, just some inspiration and hopefully you can use it.
Everyone, so when you share the photos of your bag, don't forget, there's our Instagram up above us. That's our website down below. And don't forget to use hashtag Brother Sews because they love seeing everything that you're working on. So thanks for letting us take over their show again. It's always fun. All right. Well, Emily, that was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. We'll see you next time.
All right, you guys, if you want to find her, there's her website down below. And if you want to talk to her about fabric or anything, feel free.
Yep.
And I cannot believe the kids didn't come up and say hi.
They're too zoned in to whatever they're watching.
All right, Emily, thanks so much for coming on. Everyone say bye to Emily, and I'll let her go, and we're going to do a quick drawing. See ya.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, I love that bag. I have to go through my stash because I know I have some of that mesh fabric, that thicker mesh. I think my husband wanted something for the boat. I don't remember what it was because I didn't make it. So now I'll just go use that mesh and make myself one, right? All right, guys, so the last thing we have to do is our drawing, and this is the last sewing machine giveaway. So there's still one person who has not replied to their email, and if that person does not reply by next week when we have our show, they're out, and I'm going to draw again. All right, so technically, this is the last sewing machine unless I don't hear back. And so I'll save all of your names that have entered. I'll leave the contest open for another week until they answer. So just so you know, but hopefully I'll send them one more email, but if I don't hear back, then they lose out. So a couple of you asked, what would be some great machines to sew through all those layers? Well, you saw what she was using, and she's using the machine that also came with the Marvel design. So it has embroidery and sewing, which is pretty cool. There's the Strong and Tough machine. That's a great one for sewing through layers. And you know, now that all of the brother dealers are open, or at least most of them are, you can go there and test their machines. So if you know that you work on denim or really thick fabric, or you make bags or something like that, bring the fabric with you that you use and test the machines just so you can kind of see what you like. That's my recommendation, at least. All right, so let's do the drawing. Yes, Sharon, you can see this again. So we're on Facebook and YouTube. Share it to your Facebook page, or you can come back and watch it later, or watch it on YouTube. And you can watch all of last week's specials. We made that bag. We did a lot this week. Learned how to hem pants. I agree. Oh, Patricia, you could do that. You can always do that. There's many ways to skin the cat. Not literally, though. Not literally. Okay, so we're doing the drawing. And we're giving away this fabulous sewing machine. Let me just bring this up so you can see it. Hold on. I don't know why After being on live, my keyboard never wants to work, but I'm going to bring this up and we are going to just take a quick. Everyone who's won so far is so excited, except for the one person who has not replied. So maybe they forgot they entered. Maybe they just want you guys to get an extra one to give away, right? Okay, so the machine that we're giving away today is this one here. Which, thank you, Brother, for doing this. They gave away 10 sewing machines. Isn't that awesome? It's the Brother XR3340. It comes with a table that's attached. So let me just share my screen here real quick. There we go. So that is the machine that somebody's going to win. Oh, hey, Melody. And so good luck, everyone. Good luck, good luck. Fingers crossed. Now let me take this down. We're going to do the drawing. Okay. You get an extra entry if you share this with friends. And many people entered every single day during these last 2 months, which is amazing. All right. And the winner is, drum roll. All right, share my screen with the winner badge. It looks like she didn't finish putting her whole name in the winner badge, but it's Stacia, S-T-A-C-I-A. Stacia Moore. Congratulations. I recognize that name. I think you've been on here live quite a few times making comments. So Stacia, S-T-A-C-I-A, Moore. So congratulations. All right, guys, this was super fun. So would you like to know the schedule for next week, by the way? The schedule for next week is we have a live show on the Brother page on Tuesday and Thursday, and I believe it's 4 o'clock. Let me just check real quick because I want to make sure that I know a lot of you say you want to make sure you don't miss these shows. So yes, next week, we have a really fun week planned. On the 28th, which is Tuesday at 4 p.m., we are going to have May Flom, and we're going to be doing crafting with the Scan and Cut. She always has the coolest things. By the way, have you, after watching those shows, did you ever order any of those pens that are the water soluble or the water, where you could brush them? Painting pens or whatever she called them? I ordered a batch and I haven't used them yet, but I'm very excited. All right. And on Wednesday is our usual behind the scenes live show at 1:30 p.m. on my page, Angela Wolf Fashion, or my Angela Wolf Facebook page. And at 4 o'clock on Thursday, next Thursday, is Laura Pfeiffer, which we are going to do another refashion, which that is so much fun. Her stuff is so cool. So that's your schedule for next week. I'm working on something that will make it really easy for you to get reminders, but it's not quite in place yet. So you just have to wait till next week so I can test it on you. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. If I don't talk to you, I will be on social. I'm probably going to go fishing on Saturday. So you know me, I'll have hopefully a photo of a fish on Saturday. But other than that, I'm sewing and embroidering. So be sure to share what you're doing. Hashtag Brother Sews. Hashtag Angela Wolf, and don't forget to stop on Emily's page to find that pattern. So, all right, everyone, if you don't have any other questions for me, we're over and out. Brother, thanks for letting the ambassadors take over your page again. This is always fun. Have a wonderful day.